Hello and welcome to the College Football Show. Once again, I'm Nick Roby and this is our good friend Barrett Black.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, man. Good
Yeah.
to be here. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's a good, officially fall. Officially the weather is nice. Bring out the long sleeves. Really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay, first question I guess to dive into. I mean, it's probably the game everybody's talking about that they didn't think they'd be talking about. What was going through your mind when you found out that South Carolina beat Georgia?
Well, I was sitting there actually watching the end of the game. I happened to walk into a shop, and it was right there at the end of the fourth quarter. I think the fourth quarter had just ended. I think Georgia had a chance at the end. They threw like a Hail Mary or something like that.
Yeah.
But they were just going into overtime, so I was like, whoa. This game's going into overtime. I'm going to stop and watch this a little bit. So I watched the rest of it in the shop. And, man, that was just insane. Especially so you had the pick off.
Right.
And then their kicker missed for most kickers in college football, 30-something yarder is,
South Carolina.
Yeah, South
Yeah,
Carolina.
they had the kick to win the game.
Yeah, to win the game. It was a chip shot. And then he missed, and I was like,
This is it.
Georgia's going to kill them now. They're probably going to score like right away, or they're going to intercept South Carolina's attempt or something like that. I was like, South Carolina's done. They're toast.
Yeah.
But hey, I was wrong.
Yeah, they bring it back, kick a field goal, and then Rodrigo Blankenship, he's like
Mr.
Automatic.
He's like Mr. Automatic, like the dorky glasses. You know him. Everyone knows him. He kicked a 55-yarder to beat OU a couple years ago. I mean, he's like the most well-known field goal kicker.
The fact
in
that you
college
know
football.
his name as a college football kicker
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Exactly.
And so classic, like it's the announcer jinx.
Yep.
What were they? They had said like South Carolina's kicker has not missed a field goal within 50 yards this year. Misses the 30-yarder.
Exactly. He had not missed one at all this year. That was a 42-yarder, and he was so shocked himself. I don't know if you saw his face.
I felt kind of
afterward.
bad
He
for
was just
him.
like,
Oh my gosh.
like,
Yeah.
man, I do feel bad for him because he is truly Mr. Automatic. Like, close to MVP of that team. I know they have some studs, but yeah, that was pretty shocking. A lot of implications from that game.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes. I mean, we were kind of waiting for something to kind of upset the unbeatens because for a while it's just been the top teams winning out. I mean, the biggest question was Clemson's close win to UNC.
Exactly.
Even like the announcers at the Clemson game kept mistakenly saying it was when Clemson lost to UNC.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it felt like a loss even though they won.
Exactly. And
But-
I mean, with this game, I'm just sitting here thinking the whole time. Before the season started, lots of South Carolina fans had high hopes. And they had the top three teams coming in, or they were going to play the top three teams. They had to play Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia this year because they only get Alabama about every 10 years. But they were going to have those three teams this year, and a lot of people were saying, hey, I guarantee we win at least one of those games, and I wouldn't be surprised if we lost two. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I don't think so, South Carolina. Like, if you were to win one, I would be shocked. And after Alabama handled them after the first half relatively well at their place a few weeks ago, I was like, they don't stand a chance against Clemson and Georgia. I was really wrong. Nobody expected this. Nobody expected this win. I think they were a 20-point underdog or more.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was 21, yeah.
I mean, nobody expected that.
Yeah, I was watching the game. So my wife, Noelle, is a huge South Carolina fan. She went there and wasn't as into the game at first. And then she's like, okay. You start to feel like, okay, like we've got a chance that we're getting into this. And once they did, it was a tie ball game. And also, as a freshman quarterback on the road, leading at look calm, boys.
Yeah.
The pick six, when they had I think it was the third quarter.
Yeah.
When the guy, I forget his name, but he gets the pick six, they go up 17-10.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, oh wait, this might be for real.
Oh yeah, that's when you started getting breaking news on the. I was listening to the game on the radio, listening to OU Texas, and then you hear breaking news flash. South Carolina's beating Georgia right now, and it's late in the game, 17-10. So. And
then they played a lot of the second half with their third string quarterback, who let's not understate was playing wide receiver at points this year just to get playing time.
Yeah.
Like he had pretty much switched to wide receiver.
Yeah.
But then Bentley goes down, and then Helinski goes down, and Bentley goes down being like early in the season. So Helinski's number 1, and then he's now the number 2.
Yeah.
He leads the team in the second half. They don't do a whole do a whole lot, but the fact that he's leading the team and just helping them maintain the lead against the number 3 team in the nation at their place.
Yep.
Like that's a big deal. Who's like 1 play away from last year being in the playoff. So really impressed. They even got some ranking votes this week.
Yeah. Which I mean, rightly so. They have Florida this week. What if they beat Florida?
If they beat Florida,
if they beat 2 top 10 teams, does it mean that Florida was just too high ranked, or what does it mean? You know,
I think a little bit too high ranked.
Yeah,
but I think. Do you rank South Carolina if they beat Florida?
I think you rank them top 25 for sure. They're a top 25 team.
They'd be like 24.
Yeah. If they beat Florida and Georgia back-to-back weeks, I mean, put them top 20.
Which that's huge. Anyway, so there's huge stuff in Georgia.
So big question coming out of this game for me is: did Will Muschamp just save his job? Did he just save his job for another year?
Oh, I think so. I mean, for sure.
I mean, because his seat had to be getting hot.
He was one of the hot ticket teams or guys on the hot seat just because it's his 4th year. He doesn't really have a signature win.
Nope.
You know, like he hadn't had these like huge losses, but he hadn't actually beaten like
anybody of consequence. Yeah.
Right. And now it's like a full cycle of like all these guys are his players now that he's recruited.
Yep.
You know, and just not making progress. But beating Georgia, not just beating any team in the SEC, but beating Georgia, who's like a cross-state rival, the big dog in the that division.
Yeah.
I think he at least saves his job
for
at
sure.
the end of his contract.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal for him.
Now is that actually a good thing or a bad thing for South Carolina? Well, we'll see.
Well, they're riding it right now.
Oh yeah, they're loving it. Yeah, I mean
another thing that it means for Georgia. I mean Jake Fromm had a terrible game. 1 touchdown pass, I think, to 3 interceptions. He hadn't thrown an interception this year, and he threw 3 in 1 game. And before that, there was a guy on the radio who was talking about how he thinks Jake Fromm is the best quarterback in this year's class. And I think that, man, he had a rough day, and in the big moment, you know, throws a pick in the first overtime. I mean, it was a rough day, so that could have hurt him for the Heisman for sure. And then also, I think Georgia has to win out. Absolutely cannot lose another game. And they have to win. They have to beat Alabama or LSU in the SEC championship game to be considered for the playoff. So they still have to play Auburn. They still have to play Florida, and they have to win out.
Yeah, so it's doable. It's not like it's not doable, but it becomes a lot tougher of a road.
Yep.
So I think if they have 2 losses, we haven't seen a 2-loss team get in yet.
Nope.
And I don't know if we will. A lot would have to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
For it to happen. But yeah, Georgia's still a lot to play for. But yeah, it was. I think South Carolina was able to expose their flaws of not having the big downfield threat, and they stopped the running game. I mean, like they gave up some yards, but they were holding him down. And then that one guy from South Carolina had 3 picks.
Yep.
And a lanky corner, they just shut him down.
Yeah, their cornerbacks are huge though, like 6'4".
It was
huge cornerbacks. Crazy thing, I heard a lady calling on the radio station today, another network I was listening to, and she was talking about how they need to get rid of Kirby Smart, and I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's so reactionary.
Georgia fans, it's 1 tough loss. It happens, and you're still alive in the playoff hunt. You just got to win out, and you'll beat some big teams along the way if you do, and Kirby Smart is awesome. So
he's great. Yeah. He knows the Southeast very well. He's a great recruiter.
Yeah.
They just don't have as much of the talent as I would say a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But again, it's like who you're gonna get. Like that's the thing with these guys is like you can put guys all you want to on the hot seat, but who you're gonna get.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like that's the big thing with it. So that was the big game. The other big game of the weekend was LSU Florida. I didn't get to watch as much of this game really. But it's impressive for LSU to put up 42 on Florida, who's a strong defense. Florida, I feel like, was very resilient. They show that they're a good team. I mean, playing with a backup quarterback and going to Baton Rouge for a night game, which that's a big deal. But LSU is really and as we'll talk about later, has pushed themselves to really be in the football playoff conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, LSU was super impressive. I watched the whole game. Number one, the atmosphere for that game, just watching it made me want to be there so bad. Like, it looked like tons of fun.
Yeah.
8 p.m. Eastern time, but 7 p.m. game in Baton Rouge. The crowd is super rowdy. It was so loud in there. Man, it just looked like tons of fun. And they were able to love in it because Florida could not stop them. Granted, they couldn't stop Florida for most of the game either, but Florida couldn't stop them. They ran the ball. They put 500 yards on what was supposedly the best defense in the SEC. Joe Burrow, unbelievable, 21 for 23 with 3 touchdown passes. And then this running back, he had over like 125 yards. Man, they really put it on Florida and made Florida look bad. Everybody today's question, maybe Florida didn't have the best defense in the SEC. Maybe we were wrong. Everybody judges pretty quickly on some of that stuff. But I think LSU showed that, hey, we're a force to be reckoned with. And when we get to the rankings piece, I think, we both have discussions about that.
Yeah, that was a big one. Oklahoma wins the Red River Shootout against Texas. I think Hurts also is confirming that he's a quarterback. He's not just a guy managing the team. Like, he could be the guy.
He had a rough day. 2 turnovers in the red zone. He fumbled the ball. He threw a pick. Lots of people talking about after that game, like, he still got a lot to work on. He still does have a lot to work on. In my opinion, this drops him a little bit as far as his comparison to Joe Burrow and Tua. That's going to be who he's being compared to a lot right now.
Sure.
Even though they can't run the ball like him. But you're right. His passing and his leadership, I mean, they owned that game. Texas was giving them all they wanted and putting points up on them. Even went ahead of them one time. But yeah, I mean, he's great. Oklahoma's great. Their defense, man, wow. Way different than the past 2 years.
Yeah, they're showing up. It makes the playoff conversation. I think we might have we're going to have the most compelling playoff conversation.
I agree.
Because there's just so many more teams in the mix versus like in the past
Alabama,
Clemson, and then who are the other 2 that are going to be in it?
This year, it's like there are 6 teams, maybe 8 teams that could easily be in it right now.
I've seen Clemson from experts be ranked number 1 all the way to the number 7.
Yeah.
And it's just, and that's opinion, of course. But like, just as an example, like, what do you do with all these teams? And because the top 7 right now are still undefeated. So that was a big one. And then just to talk about Clemson and Alabama both take care of business. Clemson at home, I think, really showed out, and they won 45-14. And the 14 points for Florida State was on the second string. I think the defense really showed really well. I mean, they had the game that we were, as Clemson fans, you're hoping to see after UNC. So that was really good. Bama had a good showing against A&M, 47-28. A convincing win, for sure. Any thoughts you want to say?
I mean, offense, this is the same story. Offense showed up, had a great game. Tua did throw his first pick of the season, which is a bummer.
He did,
you want him to be able to go the whole season without throwing a pick, but that's unrealistic to expect. But the defense, it's kind of the same story. It's like, man, we're still a little bit porous. Kellen Mond was able to break off a couple big runs. He's a mobile quarterback for sure. But he was able to get some open running lanes in there. But I mean, it was a little bit worse than the score showed. Like they scored one towards the end that was kind of like meh. But
it affects the scoreline.
Yeah, it affects the score. But the defense still didn't. I mean, it's just that feeling. It's like Alabama, we pride ourselves on defense, and it's just not the same this year. But the offense is incredible. So
that is
what
good.
can you do?
Yeah. Any team that impressed or did not impress what we haven't talked about that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, Wisconsin's defense, again, pitching a shutout. 4th one of the year. 4th shutout of the year.
That's pretty crazy. And Michigan State's not like this powerhouse on offense, but a shutout's a shutout.
I mean, Michigan State historically is one of the best teams in the Big Ten. And granted, they didn't do anything against Ohio State, but shutout's hard. A shutout's hard to get. And Wisconsin, man, they're just showing that, hey, we're not a pushover this year, and I cannot wait to see that Ohio State-Wisconsin game.
Oh, that title game is going to be...
Not even the title game. They play regular season this year.
Well, they do. They do.
That's
That'll be really
going to be
good.
exciting. They may play twice, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that will be how it
That
is.
feels like the two best teams in the
Yeah,
conference, for sure. With one of them probably making the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I had some quick shouts I want to mention. Shout out to Tennessee, first SEC win.
Yeah, big
Way
deal.
to go. Way
big
to go.
deal for them.
Temple got a home ranked win.
Against
I
Memphis,
flipped on this game, but Temple's tough at home.
Yeah,
And they're anyway, I was
They
impressed
had a
with
big
that.
win earlier in the season. Who was it? Or did they just beat Maryland?
Was it UCF? They beat UCF? They beat another
Yeah,
ranked
they
team
beat-
at home.
yeah.
That it was just impressive. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like it was impressive. App State is ranked now
Whoa!
for the second time pretty much ever.
Yeah.
And granted, they were an
Boys up
FCS
and
school.
booming. Yeah.
They were an FCS school, what, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, they
Again, shout out.
Yeah.
App
that's
State.
impressive.
And Louisville is another one. They beat ranked Wake
Yeah.
on the road. So
Way to go,
Scott
Wake.
Satterfield, who was the old coach at App State.
Way to go, Wake. You were our thoughts that could potentially do it in the coast. They are in the coastal, right?
No, they're in the Atlantic. with
Okay,
Clemson.
so you were the team that I was thinking maybe could give Clemson a run for his money. You're out of the conversation now.
yeah,
out of the conversation.
they haven't
Clemson
really
will
played
destroy
anybody.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my not category, Syracuse and NC State played on Thursday, and I watched part of that game. It was terrible.
I was about to say that's a pretty tough game to watch. I mean, extremely
just-
low scoring. What was the final? 16-10.
16-10. It was 16-0 at halftime for
Yeah.
NC State. NC State's touchdown was a backwards pass to the wide receiver. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And granted, a reason I was watching as a Clemson fan, they're both in my division,
Mm-hmm.
and wanting just to see, okay, like, can we get
How
something?
really,
And it was just not good. Another one, UVA loses to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
UVA, the other ranked team who's been the pick in the Coastal to play Clemson
Yeah.
in the division, another like potential like threat. And now you're just like,
Yep.
wait, we're already getting hard enough time with schedule. We want to
Yeah,
play somebody, and
exactly.
that's what it is. So, yeah, I like that. You wanna talk a little rankings now since
Let's
we've
talk
mentioned
about some rankings.
we've
man.
been previewing that.
So
Okay.
as a Clemson fan, I have to ask, what were your initial thoughts as the rankings came out?
Okay. First, confusion.
Yeah.
A little hurt.
Yeah.
A little anger.
Yeah.
And it's just all the I don't know if it's the grief thing, but it's just like it's a lot of like first you're like, what's going on? LSU's not better than us.
Yeah.
But then it's like, fine, as long as we're in the top four, I don't
Yeah.
really care. Honestly, it's at this point you're like, it's a lot of talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels as a Clemson fan, it feels like they're trying to lift up LSU Alabama.
Yep.
Like they're trying to make them as high as possible. Hopefully that they stay 1-2. It'll be a 1-2 matchup.
Mhm.
They play later in November. I'm pretty sure.
Yep. First week in November.
That's what this feels like,
Yep.
honestly. Is they're like, because honestly, if you put LSU 2 over Clemson, why aren't you putting them 1? They've had better. I mean,
Yeah.
Alabama's great, but like they've had better. They've played ranked teams and killed them. And,
For
I mean,
sure.
like won.
So
So
Nick, you had the exact same thoughts that I thought. I mean, if you're gonna put them above Clemson, put them above Alabama. It doesn't make sense, you know.
Yeah.
They do have the best wins in football right now. They have 2 wins against top 10 teams because Texas was ranked in the top 10 when they played them. Though I don't think Texas is as good as we thought they were at the time. But they do have the win against Florida as well. I say definitely move them to number 1. That's my opinion. They look like the number 1 team in the nation. So I would say if I were to rank them myself, it would be LSU, Alabama, Clemson. And I agree, it's totally media based, or like the media wants to make this November first weekend of November matchup between Alabama and LSU the next game of the century. It'll be the best game for those two since LSU played at Alabama in 2011, the 9-6 game. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was the game of the century, and it was totally defense. This one is going to be the exact opposite.
it's going to be 45-42.
I wouldn't be surprised if this final score of this game was 63-56, to be honest. Like, these are 2 extremely high-powered offenses
it's going to be
with
crazy.
not much of a defense right now by comparison to where they were. I do think it's totally media-based, and they have this good feeling that, like, guys, we can put them above Clemson because one of them has to lose. And so they're totally fine with it. I think if, as a Clemson fan, you're kind of like, man, that's bogus. But at the same time, you got to remember one of them's got to lose. So you're good. Yeah.
No, one of them's got to lose, but because then it's a conversation. But then it's like, okay, say Alabama beats LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they're gonna be like, well, they lost the number 1 team in the country. They were number 2.
Yeah.
Like it feels like, okay, then they're gonna try to put 2 teams in.
Yeah.
It's if LSU doesn't make the SEC title game, then you're like, it's a lot of gesturing of like, okay, should this team have been as high as well? Yeah. Other notables is that Florida and Georgia both stay in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Florida played valiantly, and like I'm not going to argue with that because they also beaten Auburn, who was ranked in the top 10 at the time. Georgia, I almost think they should be out of the top 10 if it were me. But then it's like, who else do you put there? That's
the crazy thing is Notre Dame is above Georgia, and Georgia beat Notre Dame. I mean, you always got this question in there.
Weird,
It's tough when you start getting the 1 losses, because earlier in the season you got a bunch of undefeated teams. Now there are probably like 10 undefeated teams total in college football, and the ones that matter are all sitting up in the top 6. So.
Yeah, I mean. This will kind of work itself out because Ohio State, Wisconsin's going to play each other. Yep. LSU, Alabama's going to play each other.
Penn State plays Ohio State.
Penn State plays Ohio State.
Yep.
Notre Dame will have to figure itself out too. Mm-hmm. Clemson has to go undefeated, honestly. Sure. And if all those things happen, then we can really start getting into that. But that's kind of the snapshot of that. We are pushing the 20-minute mark. If we can talk Heisman a little bit, Who would you say is your Heisman front runner? We talked about we're pretty much every team's played 6 games. They're about halfway through the regular season.
Yep.
Who would you say, if you had to vote today, who would be your Heisman winner?
Yeah, so halfway Heisman time, and being a homer for Alabama, I want to say so bad that it's Tua, but it's not. Joe Burrow is definitely the guy I would give the vote today if it were today. He and Tua's stats are so close to one another. It's crazy.
It's pretty
rushing. They both scored 2 rushing touchdowns. Passing, Tua has like 27 touchdowns to Joe Burrow's 25, but Joe Burrow is 79% completion. That's crazy. 79% completion.
And they're slinging the ball. It's not like they're throwing these easy throws. These are slinging the ball.
And he's awesome. He can scramble. He gets away from people, gets back into the pocket. He's got a pair of incredible receivers. Another conversation we could have in total is who has the best pair of receivers? Clemson, LSU, Alabama. I mean, those receiving cores are incredible. Mm-hmm. But it's got to be Joe Burrow. To a close second.
It's a close second.
Joe Burrow.
I like it. If I was going to pick today, if I was going to vote, and this is also a preface, we haven't looked at these, we haven't compared notes. This is the first time we're seeing this. I also would have picked Burrow. Mm-hmm. I think he's just been impressive. And again, like you're saying, it's close. Mm-hmm. I would have Burrow, then Tua, then I'd probably have Jalen Hurts. It's probably my 3.
Yep.
With Fields being the 4th guy who would have been
I would invite all 4 of those.
Honestly, him, and even Jonathan Taylor, I think you just include him. I mean, he's having a baller year too. Yeah. But Burrow, I think the thing with Burrow and what they like with Heisman too is they want these moments. They want these big moments, like the one in Texas. He throws a 4th down completion or the big completion over the middle. They score a touchdown when Texas is knocking on the door. Home against a rival SEC team, and they get a key SEC win. Yeah. Burrow's just had these big moments, and like you said, the total touchdowns, Tua has 29, Joe Burrow has 27, the completion percentage. But I think it's just these big moments and also what he means to this team. Burrow has lifted this off. Also, this offense is part of it. Is they have not had a quarterback for a while, and what he's been able to then do is to turn these athletes loose. It's showing what LSU can be when they have a quarterback and an offense that they're kind of can let it loose.
I think this gets solved in that first weekend in November. I mean, it's going to be Alabama versus LSU. We'll get to see them head to head. To be honest, whoever shows up better in that game is probably going to be the front.
It's probably going to be the win, honestly, just because they'll have the big moment with that. Just quickly, I thought these were interesting. The Heisman odds, this is according to 247 Sports. This is if you bet $100, how much money you would get back. Tua is the favorite right now still. He's at plus 115. So it's a little bit more than if he was 1-to-1, how much money you get back. Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts are both plus 300, so plus 3 to 3-1 odds that they would win. Then it's Fields at 9-1. Then Justin Herbert 60-1, and then Jonathan Taylor is 12-1. So Tua is still the favorite.
Yeah.
Because he's been incredible, but these are close seconds. So really, it's pretty much anybody's game.
Yeah.
For that, which I thought was really interesting. And then quickly, was there any games that you really want to talk about?
So the games this week, it's kind of like going back down the roller coaster from where we were this past week. There's not a ton of big games, but I think Michigan at Penn State is going to be the biggest one. I was just hearing a stat on the radio today about how the past 3 seasons, they've each gone to each other's house and been destroyed by the other team. So Penn State goes to Michigan, gets slaughtered. Michigan goes to Penn State, gets slaughtered. So it's going to kind of be the same thing this year, Michigan at Penn State. And will Penn State slaughter them again? So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's just, again, it's a show of like, can the top this weekend is just more, can the top front runners, they're playing like not as good teams in their conference, can they keep up the consistency? Do none of them have a slip up like Georgia does? Can Georgia rebound?
Yep.
Clemson's playing Louisville on the road, which is now a tougher game than the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that kind of a weekend. It's not as many big games, but the Michigan Penn State is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, a big inconsequential game as a SEC fan. And it's 2 teams that Alabama has played, so to see how they do against one another would be Texas A&M at Ole Miss. We're trying to figure out, is Texas A&M actually a good team, and then they just happen to have lost to 3 top 10 teams. So we'll see how they do against Ole Miss and their running quarterback.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Another fun weekend, but more of continuing to see, are these teams. The narrative's kind of like playing itself out and kind of seeing how these kind of go. So a lot to unpack for this past weekend. Excited for more. So, but thanks as always for being on.
Good to be here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. We're tuning off.